Big day for the heavyweight names again, with Sandro Tonali, Elliot Anderson and Julian Alvarez all dominating the board. There's also a huge club record deal already agreed in one story, while another Chelsea link is quietly building in London. And at the other end of the scale, a few big club links are still only at the talking stage. Let's get into the full signing room rundown. Let's start with the done deals. This one looks as close to finished as it gets. Manchester City have agreed a deal with Nottingham Forest for Elliot Anderson. The reporting across The Guardian, ESPN and BBC Sport all lines up on the same big point, and the fee is said to be £116 million. That would make it a record for a British player, which shows just how far City have gone to get it over the line. Forest are even being linked with Lucas Bergvall as a possible replacement, which only adds to the sense that movement is expected. On the evidence here, this is a completed agreement story. Real Madrid have reportedly activated their buyback clause to bring Nico Paz back from Como. Sky Sports had a twist, though, saying Madrid would then sell him straight back to the Serie A side for €60 million, which is around £51 million by the figures provided. Como are said not to be willing to spend that sort of money, despite only paying 10% of that 2 summers ago. So the move is active, but the follow-up plan is where the complication sits. On this reporting, the buyback is the big step, but the endgame is still unresolved. Now, the hot rumours. Sandro Tonali is the one to watch here, with Tottenham, Arsenal and Man United all in the frame according to the combined reporting. Sky Sports say Spurs are still pressing, while Mail and Daily Mail both point to Newcastle rejecting a second approach. The price talk is all over the place, with figures of £75 million, £80 million, and about £100 million being mentioned, so there's clearly a gap to bridge. The key detail is that Tottenham are said to be ready if Newcastle can be convinced to do business. For now, this feels advanced, but not done. Liverpool have seen another move knocked back for Yang Diamond, with Team Talk saying their latest bid was £100 million. RB Leipzig are the club standing firm, so this is clearly not a casual inquiry anymore. The fee alone tells you how serious Liverpool's interest is, even if the rejection shows Leipzig are not blinking. There's only one club named on the buying side here, but the scale of the offer is what makes it stand out. Right now, it's a firm rebuff rather than a breakthrough. Chelsea's interest in Maxence LACROIX is being matched by a clear price tag from Crystal Palace. Football Insider say Palace want £50 million, while the additional report says it may take more than that to land him. So the message from Palace is pretty straightforward: if Chelsea want him, it's going to cost serious money. With Chelsea the only buying club named, the key issue is whether they are willing to go beyond that £50 million mark. This is definitely more than a casual link. The fee talk makes it feel properly live. Julian Alvarez is suddenly a proper name in the mix for Man United, with Marcos Thuram and the Mirror both saying there has been direct contact with his agent or representatives. Arsenal are also part of the wider picture, so this is not a one-club whisper. The key detail is that United moved after learning of his desire to leave, which is what gives the story some traction. There's no fee yet, so this is about contact and intent rather than a formal package. Still, when multiple outlets line up on direct talks, it's worth taking seriously. Felix NMECHA is attracting Liverpool, Man United and Man City interest, but Borussia Dortmund are making the price very clear. Kicker say Dortmund will not sell for less than £86 million, while another figure in the reporting puts the valuation at €100 million, which works out at about £85 million. So the fee picture is basically consistent. This is a 9-figure euro ask and a huge Premier League level outlay. With all 3 clubs mentioned, the competition is real, but Dortmund's stance sounds firm. On this evidence, it's a serious market story, not a loose rumour. Arsenal's interest in Bruno Guimaraes is being backed up by reports of talks with his representatives. The Daily Mail, and the Sun all point to the same broad direction: Arsenal are interested, and those conversations could lead to a formal approach. Newcastle are the club on the other side of it, so this is one of the more notable domestic storylines today. There's no fee yet, which means the process is still at an early negotiating stage. But once talks with the camp are underway, this starts to look properly live. Andre Onana is being tipped to head back to Trabzonspor, with Sky Sports saying he is edging towards a second season on loan there. Man United are still the parent club in the story, but the direction of travel sounds very clear. There's no fee to discuss, which suggests this is more about the loan arrangement than a permanent transfer. The wording does leave a bit of room, but it's certainly moving rather than standing still. At this stage, the loan route looks increasingly likely. And finally, the one still on the radar. Adam Scott is on the board as a name to keep an eye on, but this is still only early-stage interest. Sky Sports say Arsenal and Man United are considered the frontrunners, with Spurs also in the mix as an alternative route. There's no fee being floated yet, which tells you how far away this still is from anything concrete. For now, it sounds like clubs are circling rather than moving. At this stage, it's one for the watch list rather than the done pile. Enzo Fernandez has entered the Real Madrid conversation through Marca, with Jose Mourinho suggesting him as one of the names to cover the Luka Modric-sized hole. Mateus Fernandez is mentioned in the same breath, so Madrid are being pointed toward options rather than being said to have moved. There's no fee, no bid and no formal approach in the text, which keeps this firmly at the speculative stage. Still, Madrid being linked through a figure like Mourinho is enough to give the story some weight. For now, though, this is pure suggestion, not an active deal. Inter Milan are being linked with Trevoh Chalobah, but only as a possible fullback option. Gazzetta dello Sport say they could turn to him if they can't land Umar Solet from Udinese, which puts this more in the contingency bucket than the priority one. There's no fee in the story and no sign of a bid yet, just the outline of a possible move. That makes it an interest story rather than a negotiating story. At the moment, Inter's attention seems conditional rather than decisive. If you want this roundup every day, make sure you're subscribed. We'll be back tomorrow with the next wave of transfer noise, bids, and breakthroughs.